I can't support Trump in 2024 because you can't trust him to put the country first, and you can't trust him to uphold the cornerstone of our freedoms, which is the pursuit of happiness.
I can't support Trump again. It seems like every corner, every crisis that America's ever had, he's had the worst instincts. Everything that Trump does is all about himself. There's no feeling that he's in it for America.
I cannot support Trump again because I don't trust him. I feel he's a liar. I feel he's for himself. He's going to take our country down a really evil, dark path. Trump's character is someone I don't want to hang out with, and nor do I want to be associated with him. I want to be on the right side of history, and voting for Trump would be on the wrong side of history.
I can't support Donald Trump again for lots of reasons. The man's a sociopath. He's a narcissist. He's a serial liar. He has no moral compass. He has no policy positions that he's married to. He has no leadership skills. I can't support him because I can't look myself in the mirror and tell my 3 kids that I voted for a man that conducts himself the way that Donald Trump conducts himself. It wouldn't matter if blue cheese were running against Donald Trump, I would vote against him.
I can't support Trump again because from the very first moment he had the opportunity to disprove the things that everyone was saying about him, he proved those people exactly right. So from the very first moments of taking the inauguration, firing James Comey, I mean, that very first moment that he had all the way back in 2017, every moment since then, exactly what everyone has been saying he's going to do. He's going to be dangerous. He's going to abuse the rule of law. He's going to rig things to fit his agenda or to benefit himself. He's going to advance policies that aren't even what he said he was going to do, much less in the benefit of the American people, that he's going to look out for people that are left behind, that he's going to support the American worker, that he's a real businessman. He knows what he's doing. He's going to improve the economy. None of those things proved to be true from the very first moment. And that does not even go to say anything what is the number one reason, which is January 6th. There is no way that is disqualifying. There is no way that anyone involved in that should have any hand on the U.S. government and its policies ever.
I can't support Trump again for a lot of different reasons, but January 6th is probably one of the biggest ones. The information that came out after the fact about how he did not care if his vice president was killed, how he was very difficultly trying to manipulate not just the masses, but the movement behind the scenes and force the hands of other people to steal power. That just spells so much dangerous dictatorship kind of things that it immediately creates an untrustworthy nature, much less all the moral and ethical problems that come along with that. The policy stances that he has are not the same that he touted in 2016, which won me over as a conservative voter. I can now see plainly he is not a conservative. His foreign policy is quite a problem for me. I cannot stand by and support someone who seemingly promotes the activity of people like Putin and Kim Jong-un. So when it comes to policy, character, moral ethics, and then just trust with power, there's really not a whole lot about Donald Trump that is trustworthy. And if you can't have in the most supreme leader of the most supreme country, if you don't have trust in that person, why in the world would you ever put them there?
I voted for Trump in 2016, and I can't support him again because of what we know now. Donald Trump is a fascist. Donald Trump is a felon. Donald Trump is a pathological liar, and he has no business leading the GOP, let alone being president.
I have a lot of reasons for no longer supporting Trump. I walked away from Trump, especially after the insurrection on January 6th. That was the culmination of one of the darkest spots in American history. And what does it say about a man who is going to defy the Constitution, to undo our democracy? I can't vote for somebody like that. Add to that the felony convictions, the stealing of documents, the fraud. The man is just, sorry, he's just corrupt to the core.
I can't support Trump because Trump is a convicted felon. Trump is a traitor to his country. Trump lies about everything he does. He is a racist.
I can't support voting for Mr. Trump again, largely based on his actions for the 2020 election. First time in the history of our nation, we did not have a peaceful transfer of power. His repeated lapses in his responsibility for classified documents, for example, his incessant lying, the way he demonizes his opponents and people that he doesn't like. I can't take that. I need honesty and I need integrity in a president.
I can't support Trump again. A jury of his peers found him to have committed sexual assault in the form of the rape of E. Jean Carroll. It's something I find incredibly disturbing. Not only have I had that in my family, but my friends in my personal life as well. And that is such a horrible and devastating thing to do to anyone. And that's something I find incredibly sickening in a human. And I don't believe that someone that could sexually assault or rape someone should be the leader of the free country.
The reasons that I can't support Donald Trump in 2024 are many, but one of them is I'm a United States Marine Corps veteran, and he got multiple deferments. Whether it was school or bone spurs, are bone spurs really even a thing? He got deferments when young men his age were going to war. He found a way out. And as a United States Marine Corps veteran, I cannot respect that. Another reason that I can't respect Donald Trump is I'm a small businessman. In all of the years that we've been in business, over 30, we have never reneged on a debt, and we've had very few of our customers renege on debts as well. I take that very seriously. You should pay your debts. Donald Trump doesn't seem to take that seriously. Trump has had more bankruptcies than most people have had late payments on their credit cards.
I can't support Trump again because I have grandchildren now, and I cannot allow them to be in a fear and hate-based political environment, our world, the United States of America, and in our local communities. I refuse to live in hate and fear, and Trump insists on that dialogue. We see it daily. We have trucks in our neighborhoods that roll with big old flags, yelling out the windows and just intimidating, especially the elderly. It is absurd. It is wrong. It has never amounted to anything. And Trump continues, even to this day, to just tear us down and tell us that we better be ready. I think he needs to be ready, because there are people like me and there are people like you that need to tell him what we're really thinking by not voting for him.
Donald Trump gives a lot of reasons to not want to vote for him in 2024. I really don't appreciate the way he talks about veterans. Comparing the Presidential Medal of Freedom to the Medal of Honor is not the same in any way, shape, or form. So their disrespect towards veterans is a huge problem. He called us suckers and losers. Beyond that, 2024 for Trump seems to be his revenge tour. He's only talking about putting people in jail that talk negatively about him. He is not a type of person that looks like he wants to lead for the nation. He wants to lead for himself.
The reason I cannot support Donald Trump again is because I have found that he has brought a meaner brand of politics to the country. This is not the Republican Party I was raised in. It's not the Republican Party I have supported most of my life. And I do not like the way in which he is approaching policies. I do not find him to be presidential, and he does not represent my point of view to the rest of the world.
And I think if you're going to be a Christian and claim to be a Christian, you need to live what you say you are. And I see Trump using these tactics to appeal to the conservative Christian evangelicals in America to get their vote, and to try to use it in a political way like this, I think is wrong. Republicans have always believed in the rule of law, and we've always endorsed traditions. But when Trump did what he did on the Capitol and also tried to subvert an election, he basically was sending a message that it's okay to subvert the law. When I heard Trump a few weeks ago at the Republican convention say that these were really good people and that when I get put in office, I'm going to adjudicate their sentences so they can actually be released. And I'm like, these folks attack Capitol officers, police officers. It bothers me. I cannot vote for someone who chronically and habitually tells lies. I go back and fact check everything that Trump claims that he has accomplished. And when I fact check it, I would say 98% of the things he's saying are not true. There's no truth to it. And I think if you're going to be a leader you need to tell the truth.
I cannot support Trump again because of his policies. I put a lot of faith in the checks and balances that were in place when I voted for Trump in 2016. And then on January 6th, I saw how those just barely held in his 4 years in office. And then when everything he has done subsequently after leaving office show that he doesn't understand the role of the presidency, doesn't understand the Constitution, doesn't respect the rule of law. Add on to that, his horrible policies, his take on the strength that the executive branch should have is frightening. His judicial nominations were atrocious, and America's reeling from what they've done to gut the Voting Rights Act, the overturning of Roe v. Wade, and there are so many other policies now that are in question. Foundations of what it means to live in America are now completely in question. This isn't stability. His economic policies are horrible. His take on taxation, he ballooned the deficit.
The reason I can't support Trump again is because I feel like he has become a danger to our constitutional system in the wake of January 6th, and just the way that he speaks now, talking about the power that he wants, whether that means that he would try to stay again after 4 terms, or if he may try to change the constitutional order by surrounding himself with people who feel the same way.
I did not vote for him when he ran for re-election, and there's no way I can vote for him in this election. I am a mother, a grandmother, and a great-grandmother. And so when I think about the future of my children and the America that I want them to live in, I think these next 4 years are so important. I do not want a man like Trump as the head of our country who is so divisive, who is trying to pit us against each other. I don't like someone that mocks persons with disabilities. I worked my whole life with children and adults with disabilities, and they're not people to make fun of.
I am a former Trump voter. And the more I saw of Donald Trump, the more I came to realize my vote was a mistake, and he was not the man to be president then, and he's certainly not the man to be president now. Consider the things which bother me about him. First of all, he has no empathy for others. He's in it for Donald Trump, not for any U.S. citizen. He wants power, he wants ego, and Donald Trump will do anything to get it. Secondly, he has no morals. Now, I realize having morals is not a prerequisite for the presidency. Many men who have been president have not been the most moral men, but his goes to an extreme. And when I look at the fact that he's a convicted felon, that he's committed fraud, probably theft, certainly sexual harassment, and a multitude of other things, keeping secret documents in Mar-a-Lago, I cannot support a man who does that. So I cannot support Donald Trump.
I can't support Trump again. First and foremost is the fact that he lied about losing the election. January 6th is absolutely top of the list. He's a convicted felon. He lies about everything, and his lies can be fact-checked. He cares only about himself. I inadvertently was watching one of his rallies. I had to go wash my mouth out with soap after I was done, but he said, "I don't care about you. I just want your vote." So he can't backtrack on that.
The reason I cannot support Donald Trump in 2024 goes back to his first year in office in 2017, when he met with Mr. Putin in Helsinki and chose to support what Mr. Putin said over his own Defense Department and security and intelligence people. As a veteran, I cannot support him because of that.
I guess the primary reason why I can't support Donald Trump this year or ever again is what he did after the 2020 election. He tried to overturn the election. I heard it with my own ears, and I've done a lot of research since, and I'm convinced beyond a shadow of a doubt he did indeed try to overturn the election, fake elector scheme, and so I'm not going to vote for him again. I don't trust that man anywhere near the White House.
I cannot support Donald Trump in 2024 because there are a couple reasons. Number one, I can't support someone who is a convicted felon and a rapist. Number two, I know the second Trump term is going to be a lot worse than his first term because he's running to get his revenge after he lost in 2020, and he refuses to deny any election loss that was handed to him back in 2020.
I cannot support Trump again. I voted for Trump in 2016. I was disappointed in many aspects of his presidency and character flaws, which I believe disqualify Trump from being president ever again. I'm very disheartened by Trump's lack of defeat to Biden, and then just horrified by the events of January the 6th, 2021, which Trump is wholly and solely responsible for.
The reason I cannot support Trump again is because it is so evident that he is a narcissist who is destroying our country. He has already destroyed the Republican Party, of which I've been a member my entire life. And I believe that anyone would be better than Trump because of the way that he has divided our country.
I can't support Trump again for a lot of reasons. His last presidency was a disaster. He's a danger to our country. And over the last few years, in between the insurrection and now, he's gone absolutely unhinged. His support of Project 2025, I just don't want to go through the stress of another presidency with that man. Every time you turn on the news or get on the internet, when he was president, it's like being hit in the face every day. And he's not only a danger to the country, he's also a danger to the rest of the world.
The reasons I can't support Donald Trump again, I think the one that weighs most heavily on my mind is the fact that he wanted to terminate the Constitution after he lost an election. That should disqualify him from ever running for office again. Aside from that, he's proven that he's not a serious policy person. He doesn't understand issues, pushed out people around him that were good advisors so that he was surrounded only by people who would agree with him and would be yes men for him to say whatever he wants. He's also just a bad example of a person. You have a 78-year-old man who makes up crude and mean nicknames for people that he disagrees with. He's just a bad example. I wouldn't want my kids acting like that. I certainly wouldn't want to work with someone like that personally. And the fact that he's a convicted felon would disqualify him for getting hired to work at most jobs around here. He wouldn't be able to apply to drive the school bus, to work at the pizza shop, but somehow he wants to lead the United States of America as president.
I can no longer support Donald Trump. I have several reasons why. One is the lack of leadership that he had. Instead of being a leader, he devised a system where he divided the country and he blamed everybody else instead of owning the problem and trying to solve it. Secondly, he is 100% responsible for January 6th. And when his supporters asked him to go out and talk to the crowd to settle him down, he hid behind a curtain and peeked, and he saw exactly what he wanted. For those few reasons, and the other fact that I just don't think he's a leader. He's never led us. He's always blamed everybody else. And I do believe he's on the edge of dementia right now, too.
I voted for Trump in 2016, and that was the worst mistake of my life. I realized very quickly that he has no respect for the position that he holds. And as a veteran of the Navy, I took an oath to obey and defend the Constitution, which he doesn't seem to think is worth anything. He treats women terrible. He treats people terrible. He just has no respect for the office that he holds.
I cannot support Donald Trump again. He is not the man that should be leading this country. And then as the war in Ukraine developed, and I began to broaden my sources of information, my outlook, and recognize the importance of what is going on there and the risk that we would face by having Donald Trump and J.D. Vance as our executive leaders would, I think, put our country, our way of life at great risk.
I can't support Donald Trump for president for a variety of reasons. I've been very concerned about the GOP's embrace of authoritarian leaders such as Viktor Orban, the Prime Minister of Hungary. Trump has called for termination of the Constitution. How can we have a president like that? January 6th, 2021, instigating a riot in the Congress. The Georgia RICO charges, interfering with the election, which just the other day he said that he did interfere with the election. Of course, he felt he had the right, but it is against the law. The fake electors scheme is a real concern for me. The disrespect of the veterans who gave their lives, calling them suckers and losers, the disrespect to John McCain. And that's a long time ago, and that one has made me angry for a long time. And then most recently, the thumbs up in the photo at the Arlington Cemetery. Donald Trump said the Presidential Medal of Freedom is better than the Medal of Honor. There is a long list of Trump administration officials who have turned into critics. And then the racism that he showed to Kamala Harris at the National Association of Black Journalists, saying that Kamala decided to turn black.
There's four main reasons why I can't vote for Trump. One is the way that he's treated veterans, and also for the lack of action for supporting veterans. He's compromised his country through the classified documents case. His handling of the COVID response and his denigration of Dr. Fauci and lifelong public servants, that has really made me angry. And of course, who can forget the January 6th insurrection? There were people that were killed. They desecrated the Capitol. So I will never forgive that. There is like zero respect there for veterans and suckers and losers. And there's so many examples, when he was over there in France, it's just incredibly awful the way he's treated veterans. And yes, I'm a Navy veteran, so it's extremely disappointing. And all the other things that have happened in terms of just the sheer misogyny, the way he treats women, minorities. There are Nazis that feel emboldened within the GOP and MAGA. The E. Jean Carroll case, the New York fraud case, the election interference case. He has so many court cases against him. Literally, he could be attending trials all the way until he passes.
I can't support Trump anymore. And I'll tell you, I voted for him twice. He has turned into a complete fascist. I knew he had mental problems before, just being the type of person he was. Is just mean, and I get that. But I thought he was going to get things done in D.C. and get rid of the swamp, and he brought his own swamp. So I can't vote for him again.